Hello, and welcome to today's Saratech Enablement Series. My name is Sarah Utzigi, and I'm the Marketing Coordinator at Saratech, and I'll be your host today. Presenting today, we have Kevin Baxter, who is a Senior Solutions Architect at Saratech, and he'll be talking to you about configuring solid edge data management. As a reminder, this is part two of a two-part series, and you can find part one, Solid Edge Data Management, on our YouTube channel. All right, so hi, Kevin. Thanks for joining us today. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do at Saratech?
Yes, I'm a mechanical engineer. I'm primarily involved with Team Center and data management applications, and as well as supporting Solid Edge and NX CAD applications for customers.
Great. Well, we're excited to hear you to share this today. So why don't you go ahead and share your agenda and take it away?
So today we're going to do a quick review of what we talked about on our last session. You can find that on the YouTube channel, as Sarah mentioned. And then we'll get into the actual setup of the Solid Edge data management. And a couple aspects of that are the fast search, which we're going to show setting up on the server side. Also, after that, we get into the client configuration and some of the folder settings for release control, and then troubleshooting. In between there's another piece that I added in here that'll help everybody out. You may not even know about it, but it's SEAdmin Utility that'll help us finalize the configuration for all the users on the system. So we're going to get into reviewing the previous session and what Solid Edge data management is. So inside of Design Manager, you can take advantage of the data management to be able to clone designs and set the status of parts that you're working on, as well as the person that's in charge of releasing these things would use this utility to be able to set the status and do workflows. We have additional capabilities in here with the where used and replace, as well as copy and update things. So the Solid Edge data management allows us to do instant searches, simple revision updates, managing release documents, as well as promoting great file management practices. It'll get you into the beginning of a PLM practices for your organization if you're not doing that today. The fast search configuration is it's fairly simple. It's not terribly complex. You can add some additional complexity, but the basics are quite easy to set up. And we're going to set this up on the server. You want to install the fast search utility, and on the custom properties, we get into setting a few of the options here, and once we do that, we're able to use our propseed text file that's created. Now, all these files are on your local workstation with the install. You can customize this propseed text file to have additional things that you might need in your organization. In this case, there has been a couple of custom properties. We've got finish, custom to manufacturing type, and you can see those down below here in this propseed text file, where finish has been defined to have some options in a list, and you can see the format of this on the Siemens help files, what's needed. At the beginning of this propseed text file, there's also some formatting configuration lines that show you the basics of how to set this up. So in this case, we've got multiple different options for manufacturing type, date and time, and then when you pick the set custom properties, it goes and reads this file, brings those things down into this registered custom properties, and these are the properties that are going to be indexed. On the next step, we'll set this location of where the files are, and then we'll rebuild the index. So the file here, yep, thought I skipped a slide. So the files that I've defined here, this fast search scope.txt is one of the preferences inside of the fast search utility that you set up on the server. And it applies this SE Vault property here. Going back to the fast search configuration dialog, once I pick the add button here, in this case, I've set up, there's actually an S drive you'll see in the following slides. I set up a shared location called S for Solid Edge, and I created a SE Vault folder. When I hit add here, that's going to add this into the indexing properties inside of Windows. So if you go and look at the indexing options on Windows, you'll see that this SE Vault has now been added into there. So this is a very nice utility, makes it very easy to set up the indexing. You don't have to worry about going to the indexing utility for Windows on the server and setting that up. Once that's done, you can see here when I pick rebuild index, it starts indexing my items. Once indexing is done, it may take a while for a very large set of data, but in my case, I've only got 2,500 files, and it probably completed in 10 minutes. So once that indexing is complete, we're ready to move on to some of the next steps on the client side. One additional thing we'll want to do on the server for later on is to set up a support files folder. So underneath my share, I would set up the support files folder, and things like the propseed text file, my options XML that we'll get into, show you what that's for later on. Your holes.txt file, if you're familiar with that, you can put that in here. That way everybody that's in your organization can point to this shared location on the server and pick up those files and the configuration of those. So if anything is added, everybody will have access to that right away. And then everything's consistent among all the users as well. So you don't have user A having certain hole sizes that they've defined and user B wondering how they created those. And so everybody will be able to use the same configurations. So the server side that we just looked at probably take you maybe 15 to 30 minutes and you're all done. It probably takes you longer to download the software off the Siemens website as it does to actually set it up. Now we get into the client configuration, and you're going to begin by configuring the client before you point it to the server. So you're going to get all your local files in your properties folder configured, and then we're going to copy those properties over to this server shared file location and point to those. And we'll walk through that whole process. So once on the client computer, we'll use the Solid Edge options dialog box and switch to manage and hit the checkbox, and you're at the beginning of configuring your data management. Are there any questions at this point?
Nope, I don't see any questions right now.
Great. The client configuration here, on the Vault definition, we're going to add that shared folder. In this case, I mapped that folder to my client workstation. I'm adding that as S, and inside of that, we've got multiple subfolders that will configure on the following Custom Properties tab. So inside the Custom Properties, in most cases, you're probably going to have some custom properties, and these are custom properties that you're going to have indexed, and that's the custom properties is what I defined here, and then I copy that file over to the server and use that to define my custom properties that we saw on a couple previous screens. So I selected custom properties, which is in that propseed file, now residing on the server. And then I also set up a user templates folder on the server. This is optional, it's not required. The path is defined the file locations. So once we go through and we define that, we go ahead and use the same tools that we have from the server. On the, oops, apologize, I got out of order here. I went backwards instead of forwards. So we define the client configuration. This is what we did on the server side that is going to be used now that we're going to point the client over to the server. Then we go to the next tab for the naming rules, and some of these fields are optional, others are not. You can have a prefix or not have a prefix. This number generator file is what's used to key the next number that's going to come up here. So if you want to start this at 1 million, you'd go into this number generator file and set that number to 1 million, and your numbering would start there. And when you select the automatically define the names for the document number and revision, you now have access to the fields here to set this up. So you can set your revision delimiter. If you want your numeric revision or alpha character for your revision, that's up to you. You set the maximum length of the delimiter, and then you can also, if you add characters here to exclude for revisions, it will honor those as well. And all these things are being saved into your options.xml file. So when we go copy that to the server side, we'll have all those settings there for us. The formula is what is going to show up on the user side in the assembly navigator. So you can format this how you'd like. And there are some additional fields that you can add here that are documented on the Siemens server or helps site. When we get into the lifecycle tab, we have to set this up in order for some of the additional functionality to work. So the intention of the tool is to progress these files from a pre-released, which is available for engineering to go and make modifications, into a released folder, and then to obsolete the revisions previous to the most current that's being released. So if you set these all up, it'll progress those files through this sequence of folders that are set up on the server. Underneath these, you can also have additional folders set up if you like to work in a project-centric folder. So you have a folder that is related to a specific project. It will duplicate that folder structure as those files progress from pre-released to released to obsolete. So you can maintain the tracking of those projects. So some additional client configuration. We have additional options on some of those screens that we didn't talk about. One of those being automatically obsolete the previous revisions. So that's going to do exactly what it says. If there are previous revisions that are in some of these released or pre-released and released folders, if you have Rev B, and now you make Rev C and release that, it's going to take the Rev A and B and automatically obsolete those and put those into the obsolete folder. These folders on the server can have additional permissions set, so access to those files is only allowed for the people that are intended. If you have manufacturing and they're able to see these files in the released folders and that's all you want them to see, then the IT department would set up additional access on those particular folders for certain user groups. So engineering would most likely see be able to see all those folders, pre-released, released, and obsolete, but production would only be seeing released documents. So that's one additional configuration that would help you to be able to manage who sees what files. And then down at the bottom, the last option here is to automatically set the draft status to match the status of the part that's placed in the drawing. So there, with the indexing, it allows the where used and where referenced to know exactly where those files are used, and so it would keep those in sync for the revisions between the drawing and the part file. We just talked about that. When that's checked, it'll do that behavior, and the next tab that we had is the workflow. I don't have a slide for that one, but the workflow is pretty straightforward as well. You'll be able to set up your workflow configuration to suit your needs. The SEAdmin utility, it's not included in your Solid Edge download. You actually have to go download some support tools to be able to use the SEAdmin utility. And this has got to be one of the best pieces of managing Solid Edge out there that maybe you don't even know about. It's going to allow you to get all the settings for all the users consistent across all the computers with a very simple solution to point to one file, and it configures everything for you. So once you download that, you'll see the additional utilities in here. You've got some printer drivers, factory settings. The license server is inside here. If you're wondering where the license server is, you're going to want to download the support tools if you're installing Solid Edge for the first time. When we use the admin utilities, we'll run that after we drop that into the folder on Solid Edge preferences. And when we run that, the file location that it defaults to is going to be right here, and it's going to point to your Solid Edge options.xml. After we configure everything, we can take that options XML, copy it to the server. And once we copy that to the server, we can point to it on each workstation. And when we point that to that file on the workstation, it sets all the other options here in this file locations. So everything that's set inside here, and you do that one time, you can use that to point to it for each of the computers that you set up with Solid Edge, and then everybody will have the same folder structure, the same options underneath this file locations folder. And you can see here that on the S drive, after I ran the utility, I renamed this and copied this thing over to this support files folder along with the holes.txt, the prop seed, maybe some harness information that were associated with all the settings that I need for every user on the system. There is some troubleshooting tools that are available to us to be able to make sure that everything's configured correctly. Inside the program files, Siemens Solid Edge folder program, the same place that the SEAdmin utility is located, there's a built-in diag app.exe file. And when we run that, that is going to go through and check all the different things that are required for the Solid Edge data management. You push validate, and if it's good, you're going to have blue text here. As you walk down through each of these, in this case, we've got a problem here with to validate the fast search text scope, and it appears that things are not indexed. So we can go do a repair on that, and generally that will take care of it. If there is some additional troubleshooting that's necessary, there are some log files that we can look at to see what's happening. You can also enable auditing to be able to look at different properties, if things are registered or not, and that'll some additional troubleshooting ability for us. As far as the Siemens help topics, there's a whole list of things that you can just walk through here on the Siemens website for additional information for each of these different configuration steps. And there is a hot link that we have that we can send out to be able to access these help documents. Are there any questions, Sarah?
Yep, so it does look like we have a few questions. The first is this built into the core Solid Edge software, or is there an additional cost?
No, this is all built in to Solid Edge. If you own Solid Edge, you own this capability to set up the Solid Edge data management.
Great. The next question is, can I set up translations with the Solid Edge data management?
There is some additional configuration to be able to do some translations, and that is in the help documents. I believe we probably can get a link to that as well and send that out to everyone.
Great. The next question says, does this tool block Windows Explorer from manipulating files? Or is there a way to block Windows Explorer?
So if I was going to bring up File Explorer and manipulate those, in what way? Just renaming the file itself directly?
Jason, if you want to go ahead and elaborate, delete, cut, and paste.
I believe that's going to be set according to the permissions that are on those folders. The Solid Edge utility does not dictate any of that. It's going to either allow or not allow you to modify it through Solid Edge.
All right, it says, if we release a lower level part than the assembly, if we release a lower level part than the assembly and then make a change to the lower level part, does it require a revision to be rolled to upper level assembly?
No, that's dictated by your engineering process. It's not going to force you to revise any documents that's used in, but it does have the tools available for you to be able to go to the, let me show you the screen real quick on the previous presentation. So if we look at this, inside the data management toolbar, we have the where used. So if you open the where used, you can see every document recursively that it might be used in, drawings, assemblies, and then you can make your engineering decision as to whether or not you want to revise upper level assembly of the parts used in.
Okay, great. Well, it looks like we don't have any additional questions. So if you're ready to take it to the next level, Saratech offers much more than software. We have a wide variety of options for training, services, and 3D printers. So if you have any questions about that, you can email us at marketing@saratech.com. Thank you so much for attending. Kevin, thank you again, and have a great day.
Thanks for checking out our channel. If you like what you saw, make sure to like and subscribe down below so you don't miss out on any new videos. Follow us on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Twitter for the latest engineering news and information. And to see all of our upcoming events, please visit our website at saratech.com/events.